Okay, so this is my solo-y thing with Grim or Jarek. And this to set the scene. It's after everyone has returned to the Sunset Tower. It's been about an hour or two.
It's not my home. We
No,
called it my home.
I
That's
did. I did accidentally call it his home, and he had to put the brakes on for a second.
right. I do not live among wood elves.
But you will find that your horse has been well cared for.
I think that's good. Because I told you what would have happened if it hadn't been, or if they didn't have the horse. Go into the nursery.
You will find, probably not too surprisingly, that he is a few stalls away from the other horses. And the other horses seem to be even still shying away from him.
As they should be, yes. Right? They probably tend to do him so poorly. They don't take him out on rides because he intimidates them, as he should. But Jared will take him out on the glorious night ride, and we'll smite the demons who dare approach the Sunset Tower, and we'll have fun. Last hurrah of sorts before. No. Jarek is putting Heinrich on the dragon. He's taking him back. Jarek has just now decided this upon seeing Heinrich. Jarek will not leave Heinrich here any longer. Heinrich's coming back.
Yeah, it is possible he's going to have to get comfy in a talon, perhaps, but the talon is big enough to carry a horse.
No, we had like an entire picnic script. We'll just lay Heinrich on his side, and Jarek will soothe the horse, as only Jarek can after all of these years in Companion.
I might have to invent a diplomacy check just for this. So I know you're the oldest dragon in the world, but
Jarek will like raise his hand and be like, "You do know I'm the one who crushed the artifact that was keeping all of the dragons imprisoned, right? I know of your incredible power. I also know that what I did, and I would like to take my beloved horse back with me. Please."
Have you ever heard a dragon sigh?
No. I've heard a dragon tell me that I was a pregnant elven female. That's about it.
Yeah, that was a thing that happened. So you are in the stables, I would assume, grooming him down, brushing him down after a ride.
Yes.
All right. And there is no one else in the stables. You, Heinrich, a few horses on the side. And I would say that you could feel, as much as see, the presence of Lady Celine, who is floating quite serenely on a chair. It just looks like a regular chair, but it is literally floating Professor X style and carrying her towards you.
Of course it is. Fucking cripple. Well, Jarek's not going to pay her any mind. There's nothing that she could do that would scare him now, because he's like, yeah, well, Lich King. So
You've been replaced.
That's right. So, yes, Lich King's now my meal ticket. That's the argument. So Jarek will remain focused on Heinrich and be like, yes, I'm not really used to riding in these trees. Let me remove that. They haven't treated you very well. Don't worry. We won't be here much longer. No.
Lady Celine will stay silent for a while. And then she will clear her throat, just like that. Very manly, I guess. But a more delicate throat clearing. And then she will say, "You are not exactly a man for subtleties, so I will skip them. I am aware that something happened. I am not sure of the details, but I can only assume that you might have some questions."
Jarek remains silent and continues to peacefully brush the horse.
Lady Celine will shake her head silently and then say, or ask, "Did the Lich King tell you what he intends for you?"
Something to that effect, yes.
Am I to correct in assuming that you saw him face to face?
I think that's what Keene wrote in the journal, yes.
Her face looks a little hurt at that for a second, and then she says, I had my suspicions when I first met you, but the idea that the Lich King's chosen form happened to find me completely by chance seemed astonishing. And it was not something that I was willing to burden you with without knowing for sure. I am not that cruel.
Oh, no, I agree, you're not that cruel.
She raises an eyebrow, as though she was not really expecting this kind of reaction. And then she says, there are ways to prevent what the Lich King has in store. I do not know all the answers, but this is a subject I am intimately familiar with. I told you in the journal that my grandfather was there when the Lich King was figuratively born. The Lich King never forgave him for that, and when he needed a new body, my grandfather was the first. The form you spoke to was my father. And had I been born a male, I can only assume that I would have that arm now instead of you. She's silent for a while and then says, I do not envy what you're going through, but I do understand it a bit. And while... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I could tell that you understood it. Better than I did.
I'm sorry, what?
Better than I did.
Oh. She hesitates a bit. And then she says, the link between you and him is in your arm. If it could be removed, his hold on you would be removed as well. That is the most likely avenue to you. Of course, there is also killing the Lich King, though such a feat would prove enormous.
Well, I mean, surely, if the grandfather of Lady Celine could not stop the Lich King, how would a little lowly peasant like me?
She would raise an eyebrow, and she says, Jarek, you are many things, but you are not a lowly peasant. If nothing else, the Lich King's discerning taste saw far more in you than a common man.
Well, that's well for him, then. Good on you, Lich King.
She shakes her head again. I have no knowledge of how to remove that arm from you. But I am confident that the answer is out there. And if you wish to avoid the fate that others are trying to force upon you, I will help find that answer in any way I can.
No, I don't think it would do any good to have the arm removed.
She raises an eyebrow again. It is the link between the two of you.
Jarek will actually stop brushing the horse and slowly rotate his head to look at Lady Selene and say, "Yes, that's correct. It's the link between Jarek Virmal, and the Lich King."
And you do not wish it removed?
Well, you see, over all of these weeks, I have been lectured so much on goodness and rightness and justice by, among other people, Pearson Cullimore, whom this does seem amusing to me in some facet of my mind, given what I know of his past and what I've seen him do. And the funny thing is that when I think back on it, I was just a mere wizard apprentice, but learning some minor cantrips and some basic spells back whenever I was given this arm. And now I can do so many things to so many people. The way I see it, if my link with the Lich King is severed, I'm no longer a necromancer. And if I'm no longer a necromancer, then maybe my magic stabilizes, but I am not as useful to Ardenfell, and so I must bear this terrible curse and somehow align it with the side of good and right. Jarek offers a fake smile.
Lady Selene is a bit taken aback. Her eyes grow wide as you say that. And eventually she says, "You are a difficult man to read. I never know when you are being sarcastic or serious. If you truly desire to bend it for the good of the land, as you say, I understand. Though, if you are simply being bitter, I suggest that your future and your soul are far more important than your bitterness."
You see, I would like to treat you as a confidant in the situation, but I know Lady Selene of Whitebridge, whose entire free lands and realm are being devastated, that, you have quite a stake in this as well, after all. And then Jarek, sticks, he pulls out the wand. That's why you gave me this, right? With your suspicions and your intimate knowledge of the situation, heaven forbid one of the 5 people who could bring down the Demon Lord suddenly perish and be turned to the side of the Lich King. Heaven forbid that his powers and talents be wasted for the side of good. You see, I considered on many occasions throwing this out. I had quite a few opportunities to even break it. It was quite a point of contention, because, and I'm no fool, I then realized so much more about my situations with you than I had seen previously. I'm not immune to manipulation from any individual.
Lady Selene, for the first time you've ever seen, looks very upset. And then she says, "You stupid, stupid man. For someone who has so much intelligence, you miss the obvious. I gave that wand to you far long before I even knew there was a threat to this land. I gave you the wand because I was concerned, because I cared about you. I have not once manipulated you against your will."
Yes, your care. I'm glad you focused care on so much of an individual person instead of your entire realm. Maybe this problem could have been solved in another way that would have not caused these demon rifts to open. I would have much preferred not being out here every single day doing what I do.
She sighs and visibly collects herself. And then, "I am aware of my failings more than most. But I am who I am. I care. And I think that is what makes me as powerful as I may be, however inadequate that has turned out to be. You are welcome to do what you wish with your arm or the wand I gave you, but do not ever misunderstand my intent."
I'm glad you're giving me your permission, O mighty and powerful Lady Celine, to do what I so desire.
She shakes her head again. You are an impossible man.
Well, did you not just give me your permission that I'm free to do whatever I want, as if I'm not already aware of my freedom to do things? No, actually, I think you're wrong. I'm not very free, am I? And Jarek will, he sort of like, he'll sneer and lift up the arm, and like negative energy will course around the wrappings, removing them. I'm not free at all, nor will I ever be. You see, that death, that would have been a way for me to be free. I think, more so than what I am now, which is why I wanted to remove the wand, because then, at least, this particular torment, of which I am aware, would be over. But no, I'm helping other people, and he'll like interlace his fingers, for putting the land back together, saving those stupid, unworthy, incompetent. Pearson uses a wish stone. His moronic daughter uses a wish stone. Finian uses a wish stone. You think wishes just come freely from the sky and drop like rain? No, they don't. There are always consequences. I learned of consequences. Them, they think everything is handed to them. Yeah, the demons are handed to them. They're the ones who ruin Whitebridge, who ruin the freelance, who threaten the entire security of the world. And who has to pick up the pieces? Me.
Lady Celine sits silently for a long time. And then she nods and she says, yes, we are in a world where others' actions always affect us. I do not believe that you are as arrogant as you play, nor do I believe that you feel your companions are anywhere near as incompetent as you like to display, even if you don't believe it. And I know that you are as aware as anyone else that one of the greatest consequences you could face is to turn around or turn away the only allies you have. Let me be very clear about what I do know, Jarek. You think death will be a release for you. I have seen the Lich King. And every time I look into his face, my father's face, I see in his eyes that my father is not free.
Jarek will take the time to inhale.
Well, I had about as much of an idea that it would be a release as anything else. Then again, I didn't let the others to die, and I did inform them that the Lich King, in his infinite power, was capable of many things. Oh, Jarek, why aren't you normal? Oh, Jarek, why won't you insult us like all those other times? Why are you so afraid? Why won't you let Keen shove you closer to the Lich King? Oh, it's only because the Lich King is one of the most powerful entities I've ever heard of, and encountering him face to face, considering how I wield his power, and he is, whether I like it or not, my master, why, that causes some inconveniences to my mind, as it should do any person. But no. There. They think they can save Ardenfell. Why not directly confront the Lich King, right?
Lady Celine considers your words, and then says, perhaps, and then she stumbles again. Perhaps you are in need of time. I do not wish to insult you in any way, but I think that you yourself do not realize how much you have been affected by this. And I think that your venom is coming as much from confusion and a sense of loss as anything else. You think that I want to manipulate you. You could not be farther from the truth. I believe in allies, not tools. I want allies. Jarek, if your heart is not in this, then... And then she hesitates.
You know, your words are sweet, but in my intelligence, I realize some of my failings, and one of those end up being, as I noted earlier, that I can be manipulated by anyone. The Lich King's words to my companions, they too were sweet and promising, and had I just confronted him alone and given the power to speak, why, I might have even agreed with them. But the others, despite their obvious fear, they were brave enough. Similarly, when confronted by you, anything you say could sound reasonable. After all, how could I argue with almighty powerful Lady Celine, who has lived for far longer than I, who has ruled over a fair city and realm far longer than I? You have talents and powers I can't even fathom. And Jarek will extend his arms from side to side in an open, vulnerable gesture, but it's totally like he's being sarcastic. He's not condescending, because he can't be condescending to Lady Celine. It's
Right.
just, it's it'd be like a sneer, only he's not sneering.
She almost seems to withdraw within herself and says as much to herself as to you or anyone, and you saw where that got me. And then she kind of refocuses. Jarek, the world is falling apart. I, for whatever power you think I have, am just as lost as you. The difference between my sweet words, as you call them, and the Lich King's is that I don't make you grandiose promises. I simply tell you what it is and how I feel. I never have, nor would I ever want to manipulate you.
Jarek will offer a gallows humor smile. It's genuine here, and he'll raise his skeletal hand to his temples and says,
You know, Lady Celine, I wouldn't mind the grandiose promises from time to time.
Give me a second. Lady Celine will return the smile perhaps a bit more genuinely. At least it appears to be a bit more genuinely. And then, how about this grandiose promise? I will help you find a way to avoid your fate, whether you want me to or not. Whether you choose my help or not, I will do what I can. Because, as you so clearly pointed out, we are all free. And I choose, Jarek, to help you avoid the fate that I know can be worse than death. You may take that as you want.
Jarek will continue his, it's not sarcastic one, it is genuine, but it's it has that dark humor to it, a gallows humor smile again, like someone who's about to get hanged.
I am at your mercy, Lady Celine, as I have always been.
She actually barks a laugh. Jarek, I could not imagine you being at anyone's mercy.
Well,
Jarek, looks at his skeletal arm and, looks back at Lady Celine.
I don't think it's that hard to imagine, Lady Celine.
You think so? Jarek, how long have you had your skeletal arm?
How many years has it been? You know, the time blends together so much, especially with what I did in Coalhaven. It's been 7 or 8 years. I I stopped keeping track. It depressed me too much.
Did you know that my grandfather had the skeletal arm for 1 year before he was taken? My father, 6 months. And you've had it for 7 years, and the Lich King is anything but patient. I would say you are far from helpless, or anyone's slave.
Jarek frowns and furrows his eyebrows and says,
No. That, Well,
Lich King could. Like, now he's, like, trying to rationalize it in his mind. Like, he looks at, like, Heinrich and, like, almost as if he's asking the horse, Lich King can change his mind at any time. He doesn't need to be in any particular rush, right, Heinrich? I mean, Lich King could just decide that maybe he doesn't want to leave the body that he's currently in, and, just give it some time. Wait to see what happens. I mean, he could be interested. I'm sure he's able to describe me at any given moment, so, right, Heinrich? Yeah? And Heinrich will just, like, sort of, like, shrug. You're not helping.
Lady Celine will continue. My wand may be able to prevent him from stealing your soul for now, but I gave it to you rather recently, and I would be willing to bet... She smiles very bitterly. What's left of my kingdom that he's tried before.
Now, do you suppose this might be a proximity thing because, well, considering how long I've had this arm, perhaps his magic is less effective across great distances?
I do not wish to alarm you anymore, but when my forefathers were taken, the Lich King would commonly follow them. Not all the time, but I have journal entries from my grandfather and stories from my father where they would notice him. I would be willing to bet that the Lich King is not always as far away as you might think.
Jarek's eyes like perceptibly wide into an "oh fuck me" moment as he starts like processing through every single person that he has seen over the past 7-8 years, and as if he's now all cataloging them.
With that, Lady Celine says, that said, I do feel that perhaps some time to reflect, to determine where you wish to go from here and how you wish to handle this might be for the best. World in crisis or no, you're no good to anyone, your allies, your friends, or even yourself, if you try to rush off into a fight as unsure as you are now.
Jarek, like vigorously shakes his head, like snapping himself like out of his own moment, and says,
Now that is an interesting opinion for someone who is so vested in the safety of this world. I would love to run away, but if I did so, how would the others hold themselves together?
Lady Celine smiles more genuinely. By a thread, Jarek. I'm sure. By a thread.
That has got to be one of the... Oh, wait. That's the same exact thing that we're doing right now, right?
Her smile widens.
Jarek like furrows his brows and narrows his eyes at Lady Celine.
So you're saying that nothing would change?
And she says, with the same angry voice, but obviously not as genuinely upset as she was, "Oh, you are an impossible man."
Jarek will throw his head back and put one of his hands on Heinrich.
Oh, it is good to have this fun. The others, they're not so fun anymore. Not after everything, and really, who could blame them but you, Celine? You are... there's still so much left. And he clenches his fist and like a sort of like a friendly expression of like all of these things that I can have right now for fun.
Lady Celine settles down a bit and then says, if you could do anything right now, what would you do?
Jarek's friendly expression fades. As out of respect for Celine, he will regard the question seriously.
You know, I don't know. When we went to Windfall Island, I didn't think that events would transpire as they did. I didn't really consider when I was told by one of the Lich King's lieutenants, after I derailed his plans at the limestone quarry, that I bore the arm of the Lich King, and I considered quite vigorously leaving all of them in the night. It would have been nice to just retreat somewhere with my one friend, and Jarek tips his head sideways at Heinrich, and, you know, I've seen rifts to other worlds open. The former leader of the cult of Solage, he opened one. My best guess was that I could open up one too. I could go to a new world which wasn't being invaded and, you know, live some time there, and if it were ever invaded, then I could go to another one. As I grew in power and skill, I wouldn't have to worry so much about the invasion. I could just jump whenever I pleased. But I didn't run. Suppose I thought that was too unreasonable. That if I were alone, that I might be hunted down, and even with my incredible strength, be killed, and then I would be consigned to my ultimate fate. But if I had the freedom to do whatever I wanted, right now, alone, suppose it would be to be alone. Because, well, I'm pretty frightened, terrified. I have been every single moment that I could think of, ever since I learned what I am. And, well, it's something that you had more knowledge of, but was kind of hit upon me suddenly. And I am in no condition, I can see that in myself, to try to help or benefit anyone else, because the longer I go, the more likely I am to just use some of Pearson's fascinating words and do something that would be to the detriment of Ardenfell. I am very, very tired, though not perhaps as tired as you.
Lady Celine listens with a straight face, one that does not appear to be judgmental in any way, shape, or form. And when Jarek finishes, she nods, and she says, I can understand that. I have a suggestion. And her smile kind of, she kind of grins a little bit mischievously.
Jarek lifts one of his eyebrows suspiciously at Celine.
When you first arrived, Pearson told me that the cannon, she says the word a little unfamiliarly, was destroyed. That is quite possible, and I would never doubt the words of our friend. But the method used to build it must be incredibly advanced. And I am of the opinion that the more we know of our enemies, the better off we are.
Nick says, yes, I had attempted to persuade them all of that myself. I found the mechanics incredibly fascinating and interesting, though far beyond any sort of level of comprehension that I had, having no prior background in engineering, particularly not of demon kind. But surely the possibilities, particularly the incredible death laser that I could fire out, why, I imagine turning that against any old thing.
Lady Celine nods and she says, I had another thought for it other than death and destruction. Surely there must be remains. And the way she's talking, it's almost like she kind of is suggesting there's more to what she's saying, but she's, you know what I mean? Surely there must be remains. Enough to study.
And he goes, well, I don't know. Pearson did say, and like Jared goes completely straight faced with his inquisitorial thing. Pearson did say it was destroyed. I don't know what the dragons might have done with it. They might have thrown the barrel in the sea. But he knows that she knows that Pearson's a fucking lying twat. But Jarek is willing to go along with the ruse.
She nods her head quickly and says, I had half a mind to send my best minds back to Windhelm to study whatever was left, assuming that they could find it. Not to rebuild it as a weapon, but something that immense might be repurposed into a shield, a safe haven. If it can be used to destroy, must be used to protect.
Oh, here I thought you were about to say it could be like a rain cannon and shoots out beautiful droplets of rain to flower crops so that they will be ready to harvest.
She literally, her face changes back to much more reminiscent of when you first met her, and she gets the far-eyed, wistful, almost child look, and says, if only.
You know, I did see the thing fire. That was most fascinating. And sure, death and destruction, but someone of your talents and time, the possibilities of it would truly be endless.
Perhaps. But I am interested in something that protects life, not something that destroys. If the cannon were to somehow fall into the wrong hands, a shield of some kind would be far better than what it was before. Would you not agree?
Jarek will actually say, that's not as fun. I can't hit Shadowhold with a shield.
With that, Lady Celine laughs and she says, I have a feeling that if we survive this invasion, we'll have to hit Shadowhold with something far more than that.
Jarek just like does like a mog, like, aww. And it looks at Heinrich. Did you hear that? I can't vaporize Shadowhold, Heinrich. This is the worst night. This is worse than the time that I learned that my arm came from the Lich King. You believe that?
Lady Celine holds up a hand. I never said we can't vaporize Shadowhold. I simply said we'll have to fire more than what that cannon could produce.
Well, there we go. This is the best night I've had since I learned that my arm is from the Lich King, Heinrich. Yeah, so don't be so down. Like, Jarek will, like, lift up Heinrich's, like, his nose.
Lady Celine says, I have a proposition. One as trained in the arcane as you are and as intelligent as you are could be of great help in studying such a device. I know how important the fact that you are one of the Stoneholders is, but this could be a refuge, a place to run to if all else fails, and that is far more important than almost anything I can think of.
See, now you're telling me what you want to hear, what I want to hear. These are the grandiose promises that I wanted from you. And Jarek will, like, point at her, like, wagging his finger. Now, why weren't you giving me these sooner?
She shakes her head. No promises, just hopes. Go with my team, back to Windfell. Study this device. Lose yourself in it if you must. Find whatever it is you need to find.
See, now, that's what I wanted to do anyway, but now, with your approval, that means you're the one who can explain to the others. I love it!
She nods a little hesitantly.
Jarek like looks at Heinrich and says,
After all, she is the incredibly powerful and wise Lady Celine, who has ruled a grand city and realm for decades, and her gift of diplomacy and gab far surpasses mine, for she has a far greater bedside manner. She could help the others understand and ease them into security and protection, that it is for the best that I leave their useless hides.
She, Lady Celine nods as if everything has been decided, and she says, "Tomorrow we will be holding a council. The dragon that has brought you here, Falcor, I believe he said his name was, will be there, and then he will be headed, I assume, back. I will ask him as a personal favor to transport you and the team that I have selected back to Windfall with him." And then she pauses. "And perhaps find a way for Heinrich as well."
Jarek goes, "Well, yeah, like that was a complete."
And then she starts floating away, and then she stops and she's like, "Jarek."
Yes, Celine, and Jarek will actually like scurry up so that he could be closer to like her, since she like floated away a bit and maintain the same distance.
"A shield, Jarek, not a weapon."
Look, I can't use shields effectively. Look at me. He
like points like his emaciated arms with like each arm.
I can't wield those.
She continues to float out, and as she leaves, "A shield, Jarek."
Don't you leave me yet. It can be a rain cannon. I can shoot rain at Shadowhold. Isn't that wonderful? I'll rain out the Lich King. Shoot them with a giant monsoon. I don't even know how awesome that would be, but I felt it in the island.
She's not stopping. She's gone.
Look, I can run faster than you can float. I knew you were no fun anyway, I suppose.
Jarek will look back at Heinrich.
I guess I can understand why she wouldn't be fun. Lots of things have happened. But you know what? You're still fun, Heinrich. I'm glad the elves didn't change you. He raises an eyebrow. Because there would have been darkness and despair if they had.
Oh, Jarek, we left Heinrich at the tunnels.
And then the new crop of wood elves all cast asunder. Why have all our babies gone? Kneel. This wand has really gotten to me.
Jarek like looks at it like the little wand.
Now look, I don't talk like this normally. Yes, you. I'm looking at you right now. You stop. Look, you can make all the arguments you want. You're the one changing your own voice, Jarek. I'm just a part of you.